Hey guys, Mikey here, thanks for tuning in. Today I'd like to talk about why I decided to switch from film photography to digital. Before I do, I want to say that I'm not a film professional photographer, obviously, so this is all based off my opinions and my experience. If you do agree or disagree, or if you have any feedback for me, please put it in the comments below. Any honest opinion is always much appreciated. And I also want to say that this is a video on why I decided to switch to digital, not why digital is better than film. I do not believe that. I think there are pros and cons to both, and one medium isn't necessarily better than the other. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first put three main reasons out there of why I decided to switch, and then I also want to briefly touch on why I think film is a great medium of photography as well, because for most of the arguments I put out there for digital, there's going to be a good counter argument for film too. So let's get straight into it. So the very first reason why I decided to switch to digital is all financial, so purely off money. There's no secret that film can put a pretty big dent in your wallet over time. Me personally, I was probably shooting two to four rolls of film a week during, let's say, my peak of my film journey. I know this is nothing compared to what a lot of you guys shoot out there, but even so, I mean, each roll of film plus the cost to develop that film definitely started to stack up over time, and I actually found that it actually started to affect the amount of photography that I was doing, because I'll have days where I'm happy to go out and shoot, but I would ask myself, hey, do I want to waste a roll of film on whatever I plan on shooting today? And sometimes that answer would be no. And then I started to realize I don't really want to have that kind of financial barrier stopping me from going out and taking photos, and obviously switching to digital solves that problem straight away. So that's the first reason why I switched. It's all financial. Second reason why I decided to switch to digital would be practicality. Couple of points I want to make here. The first one being traveling with film can be a bit of a bitch. Not gonna lie, especially if you're doing kind of bigger trips, you're taking 10, 20, 30 rolls with you in a bag, and if you're like me and you're getting your film hand checked through airport security, it's a small thing, but it's just a bit of an inconvenience, and you don't really have that with digital. So traveling's not great. Another point with practicality is that digital is instant, and what I mean by that is from taking the photo and then getting your final product with digital is pretty much instantaneous. It's very fast. So most modern cameras these days have either wireless or Bluetooth capabilities, so it's all just a matter of downloading an app, and then you can just wirelessly transfer all your photos from your camera through to your phone, into Lightroom or Instagram or whatever you want to do with it. So that process is obviously a lot faster with digital than film. So second reason, practicality. Third and final reason why I switched from film to digital photography would be versatility. So what I mean by versatility is that I want to be able to shoot with whatever camera is handed to me. I don't want to be someone that is tied to one medium, can only shoot film or can only shoot digital. I want to understand all forms of photography and learn about all of it. If you handed me a digital camera a month ago, I would have no idea what to do with it in terms of settings and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of settings on a digital camera. A lot of them people would argue are unnecessary. I agree with that to an extent, but I mean, it's good to learn anyway. That way you have a lot more control over what you're shooting with, and you can be more of a full photographer, I guess you can put it. So yeah, those are the main three reasons. You got money, so financial, practicality, and versatility. Those are my three main reasons why I switched. Now, like I said at the start of the video, even with all those reasons, I do still think film is a fantastic form of photography, and I'd like to go over why I think film is great. So the very first reason I think film is great and why I'm happy I started with film photography is that it's pretty much all manual. And what I'm talking about is the ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. So you really have to know what you're doing, or it forces you to understand how those things work and how those things affect your photo to get the correct exposure if you're shooting with film. Otherwise you're going to overexpose or underexpose, right? So I think the thing with digital photography, it can be quite easy to fall into the trap of just chucking everything on auto and then just go to town. It's kind of good in the sense that you can focus solely on the composition of your photograph, but I feel like if I started with digital, and I would think that there are quite a few people out there today that have only ever shot digital, I don't think I would have understood those three things as much as I do now, if any. So I'm grateful that I started with film, because now I have a good understanding of ISO, shutter speed and aperture. So that's one thing, it's all manual. Second reason why I think film photography is fantastic is that process from taking the photo to having your final product. And I mentioned with digital that it's instantaneous. Now I think the counter argument for that with film is just as valid. Some people would say that lengthy process of going from taking the photo with film and then getting it developed, especially if you're doing it yourself, and then getting your final print, that kind of process, organic process, is a big part of the appeal to film, and I agree. And it's kind of what's beautiful about film photography, and it helps you appreciate the art of film photography and photography in general. Shooting with digital, you kind of miss out on all of that, so you sometimes take it for granted what goes on behind the scenes and what it takes to actually get that final photograph with film. So that's another reason. And one more thing I'd like to talk about with film photography is a big one for me, and it's shooting intentionally. And what I mean by that is when you're taking a photograph, you're actually being very mindful of all your settings, your subject matter, your composition, the light. With digital photography, the first thing that I found very quickly was I was taking a lot more photos than I was with film, and not in a good way. I'd go out, find a subject or a scene, and I'd take 10, sometimes up to 20 photos of the same thing, but I wouldn't even be thinking about it. I would just go to town and take heaps of photos. The danger of that, and why I think that can actually hinder your progress, is because you're not being mindful of what you're doing. You're not really thinking about it, you're just kind of randomly taking photos, and surely one of those photos is going to be usable, right? I wouldn't go as far as say that's cheating, but I mean it's almost luck if you get a usable photo and you're just taking 100 photos and 2 or 3 of those are good. Whereas film, you are limited to the amount of exposures you have per roll. So for that reason, you're a lot more mindful and you're thinking about what you're doing in terms of composition and what settings you're using on your camera. In order to get that correct photo, you take your time. I'm not saying all my photos when I shot film were great, definitely not, but I would say the average quality of my photographs with film is a lot higher than what I'm shooting with digital. So I was pretty lucky to have realized that early on, and now I'm trying to close that gap, and I'm trying to shoot a lot more intentionally with digital. And if you shoot with digital, if you're planning on shooting with digital, I would keep that in mind and try to shoot more intentionally. Cool, so with that being said guys, that's about it. Again, this is all my personal opinion. I am in no way, shape or form an expert, obviously. So if you have anything you want to say, or if you have any feedback for me, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to have that conversation, and it's always nice to talk to someone with the same interests as you. So I'm keen to get that dialogue started in the comment section below. If you like the video, please feel free to hit the like button. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button as well, and I'll try to bring more content in the near future. But for now guys, thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.